Hello everyone, it's commentary time. Some of you may be aware of a leak going around the Destiny community recently regarding the fall expansion of this year, apparently called Destiny 2 Collapse. I believe we can take this post at face value and consider it similarly official to word we received directly from Bungie. Why? Because it was clearly written by someone at Bungie. Let me explain. Let's start with our source. A post made by an anonymous user on the image board 4chan. For those unfamiliar, 4chan is essentially a forum in which topics expire after reaching a post limit or if they don't continue receiving posts before that limit. Unless the thread is archived, anything that gets posted on it disappears within days or hours. This makes 4chan a great place for someone to post a leak if they want to avoid culpability for it, which makes sense if they're trying to avoid the legal consequences associated with an NDA breach for themselves or their source. It allows someone to leak information with less risk of being credited for it, which makes 4chan potentially the most trustworthy source of sensitive information on the internet. I will admit there's actually one other type of person who it makes even more sense for. If there's one thing that the site has been known for over the years, it's trolls. Trolls post whatever they can think of in order to stir the pot. In some cases, 4chan users will even spontaneously agree with trolls for no reason other than to make their lie more believable. For them, it's entertainment. To keep this short, there's practically no way this post was from a troll. I mean, come on, it's the internet. Who would get on the internet and just tell lies? That just doesn't even make sense. At this point, we have every reason to trust the poster. They remained anonymous and provided us with nothing to prove their credibility, which shows they are most likely the real deal. Think about it. If you were going to lie, wouldn't you put a little effort into making a fake Bungie badge prop or something? The only reason they wouldn't include something like that is if they weren't actively trying to be deceptive. If we think back to leaks from other people like Anon9 or Mega Man from Reddit, those users built some level of credibility with a pseudonym for us to recognize and a history of accurate and specific leaks. The other poster on 4chan, by comparison, has so little desire for fame and recognition that they didn't even use a throwaway trip code or something. I mean, not to stress a tired point, but why would they lie if they weren't going to get attention from it? What would be the point? I feel like the answer is pretty obvious, guys, but let's keep rolling. While I've just mentioned it, let me point out an important keyword in what I've just said. Specific. If someone's going to post an actual leak of some kind, they're going to use very precise information in what they share with us. Failing to emphasize the specifics of information is exactly how things like psychics and horoscopes trick people, because leaving details to interpretation or making broad, hard-to-deny claims lends an air of legitimacy without risking being wrong about something. Referring to our leak, one could argue that it isn't very specific, but let's do a quick read-through. The reason why Bungie has a skeleton crew working on Destiny 2 right now is due to them working on both their Matter IP and the big upcoming Destiny 2 Fall expansion. The expansion has been in the works for some time now, around 2 years, and was originally planned as a part of Destiny 3 before being retooled midway through development. Destiny 2 Collapse is the big one, and story-wise focuses on the first arrival of the Pyramids. It's a very big, Forsaken-esque expansion that's nearly a game unto itself. Okay. I'm sorry, but I have to tone down the sarcasm for a minute here because I can't properly pick apart this post sarcastically, it's just too much. But let's go ahead and pick it apart. Alright, so obviously, we can all infer that the live team for Destiny 2 following Shadowkeep is tiny, due to the small, infrequent updates. Anyone following Destiny also knows they're working on another IP, and that Destiny has not missed a fall expansion, so of course, the studio is focused on those things too. On top of that, anyone who knows anything about the games industry is aware that the development timeline always begins years before release. And to be direct, the fact that the poster somehow thought that bit was worth including makes him come across as someone with very little specific knowledge of the industry grasping at straws to create believability. Saying that the expansion began work around 2 years ago isn't a useful fact, and it's not a disputable fact, and it's not really at home in the context of leaked information. The only reason someone would post something like that is to try and convince us they know something we don't. It's a pretty transparent, deceptive tactic as far as I'm concerned. Think about it. If you knew everything that was coming out in Forsaken before it released, what would you be most excited to spoil for everyone? Kate's death? Gambit? The Drifter? Titles and collections? The Last Wish raid? New subclasses? The Shattered Throne dungeon? The 3-week curse cycle? Or would you leak the general time that development started for the expansion? For me at least, it wouldn't even cross my mind. Let's continue though. Darkness will finally be the main villain, front and center of the expansion. Very interesting character from what I've seen. It takes the form of a very ghostly, veiled woman. Same look as the statue in the pyramid. This is, again, basically filler. The poster has mentioned a known unknown without telling us anything meaningful about it. The poster goes on to tell us that the name of the darkness is the Winnower, and the major destinations for the expansion are Europa and Finality, which is where we'll put an end to the Winnower. The poster has finally gotten into specifics, but they aren't meaningful. Back to my example a moment ago, if you knew about Forsaken before release, would you consider it a leak to say there's a new mode called Gambit? not much of one. You need to share a bit more information than that for it to mean anything. A new core activity PvEVP mode, a mode where PvP takes the form of invasions and PvE builds up to a boss with light mechanics. Both teams play on their own separate arena for the most part, etc. You get the idea. Does this leaker not know anything about the Winnowere worth sharing? Well, wait, sorry, I take that back. They did tell us the Winnowere is very interesting. Moving on though. The most obvious indication that this is all a lie is that we'll apparently be putting an end to the Winnowere in the finality. Any Destiny player could tell you without hesitation that Destiny stories do not reach conclusions. That line is a dead giveaway. Also, just to point out something that I couldn't help but notice, the poster used the word very twice in quick succession. Very interesting character, which is a complete non-statement that gives us nothing to even consider, and very ghostly, which is a strange description to say the least. These low-quality descriptions make me think of someone who not only does not know actual specifics of Destiny's fall release, but can't even describe a make-believe fantasy of what might happen any deeper than the immediate surface. Let's see. I'll say she looks like a ghost. She looks ghostly. No. Very ghostly. Yeah, that's perfect. That's so spooky! Next up, we have the darkness subclass as mentioned, and a misuse of the term respectively. Respectively is used to indicate that the order in which things are described is deliberately in the same order as they were first mentioned, not as an unnecessary roundabout way to say all. This is something I would expect someone in game development to probably understand. The darkness subclass has been one of the most popular fan-made ideas and fake leak concepts in Destiny since the very beginning of Destiny 1. So this acts as a buzzword to boost excitement and therefore investment in the leak, since it obviously is aimed at making more of us want the leak to be true. Note that the poster did not include even a cursory description of what a darkness subclass would look like or do. Reflect on why that might be. Quote, another big takeaway are the Veil, essentially a long-rumored race that's been in dev for a while. We have graduated from giving general timelines of about 2 years to completely ambiguous timelines like a while. Again, do tell me about the big game release in which content comes out before a while has even passed since development started. I can't help but notice this ridiculous wording, so sorry for honing in on what is clearly a minor detail, if a revealing one. This poster has given a name with no substance to yet another upcoming concept, but does his very best to lean heavily on the more credible previous leak to provide the backbone for his description of them. Apparently, despite having a very ghostly aesthetic, a standout unit within their ranks is a earthy golem, which sounds like an oxymoron to me. I can't really find a way to reconcile how a creature could be both earthy and ghostly, particularly in the setting of Destiny. And while it's obviously possible to take an earth golem and put a ghostly aesthetic on it, I just don't think I would ever describe such a creature using the term earthy. It sounds like a writer is getting dangerously close to the end of their pre-written fantasy descriptors starter pack. Towards the end now, the poster mentions that this expansion will be revealed in June, which is yet another transparent strategy to lend credibility to the post itself. The immediate reaction to this comment would be, why would he lie? We'll know if his leak is fake in June anyway, so it might be real. But this is a straightforward bluff and it happens all the time. This comment does not in any way make the post more likely to be true, because they chose a timeline for the actual reveal that gives them multiple months of attention for their trolling before it's proven false, and they'll have enjoyed the infamy in the meantime. If I told you something like, and I was actually told this, I was told by one of the devs that Bungie is going to bring back Gjallarhorn in the fall as a way to hype up the big expansion, it slapped right in the middle of the reveal trailer set for June 16th. I'd literally only be telling you that date, so it sounds like I know more than I do, which I do. If someone gives you a specific that you can't verify, it's probably best to ignore them, since they may as well be saying, you have no reason to believe me right now. Which comes across as a trustworthy thing to say, but in reality it's just an honest appraisal of fact, and it's the exact sort of thing someone would say if they wanted to lie to you. Just because someone is honestly telling you that you can't trust them, does not mean that you can actually trust them. I mean, imagine you're walking down the street, and an anonymous poster from 4chan, who's probably holding a knife, since that makes the metaphor more exciting, asks if they could see your wallet. You say no, and they say, come on bro, I know you have no reason to trust me, but let me see the wallet. And you're like, alright, this guy tells it like it is. So you hand him your wallet. And then he stabs you, because why else bring the knife? And then he runs off with your wallet. I don't know, man. I don't think it's a stretch to say the reveal is in June is tantamount to saying, you can't trust me right now. And I don't know why you'd ever believe someone who tells you from their own volition that you can't trust them. Finally, the post closes out by mentioning that the expansion will have a raid. I should hope so. We've had Vault of Glass, King's Fall, Wrath of the Machine, Leviathan, Last Wish, Garden of Salvation. Every year there's a September raid. If Collapse, a September expansion, released without a raid, that would be extremely disappointing. In fact, the description given for this raid, that will descend into the Winnower's domain deep inside the finality to destroy the darkness physical form, that sounds very similar to descending into Oryx's throne world, deep inside the Dreadnought, to truly destroy him. Or even descending into the Keep of Voices, deep inside the Dreaming City, to recapture Riven's heart for the sake of plans to come. I mean, hell, descending into the heart of things to destroy enemies happens in like every raid. Axis in the heart of the Perfection Complex, Atheon in the depths of the Vault of Glass, Crota in the bottom of the crater on the moon, Argos in the belly of the Leviathan. This is undoubtedly a cool setup for a major big bad guy, but the formula is fairly predictable to the point where, even if that's how this fall's expansion plays out, saying that is what we should expect comes across as the minimal level of creativity in making something up. Overall conclusion? This post is completely made up, start to finish, every aspect of it. There are too many signs that it's a person who wants us to believe them, and not enough signs that they're just sharing what they know for their own reasons. This post was concocted specifically to rile up the player base of a currently very dry game. We don't have anything exciting to talk about on a week-to-week basis in Destiny, so this is really the perfect time to feed on a Destiny addict's content withdrawals by giving them false hope about what's soon to come. Picking out 4 major points in the leak, we have a full game onto itself, with the first new truly alien enemies who have the most units, as well as new darkness subclasses for each class, respectively. This post promises that the fall expansion is just going to be a huge content drop, which is exactly what everyone feeling the lack of content right now would absolutely love to hear. If something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. If something sounds too good to be true, but also reads like someone trying to BS their way through a report on a book they didn't read about very interesting characters and things in development for a while, posted directly to 4chan, anonymously, well, yeah. This all said, I have to imagine that most of us are already well aware that the post is almost undeniably fake. What I want to spend a few moments talking about now is that the Destiny community is bonkers. There's no way everything I said in this video is news to the people who have seen this leak. And yet there are articles on GameRant, Newsweek, Forbes, and a ton on Reddit and Twitter discussing this very obviously fake leak. It would be one thing if the post had been a finely crafted example of falsified concept art, detailed plot points, specific attacks and abilities, any mention of loot, maybe even a ham-fisted cinematic trailer, or anything else to make it an actually convincing fake. But the poster didn't even have to put effort into it. He just plastered the word collapse under Destiny and wrote some stuff we can all mostly agree on. I am blown away that this managed to become a community talking point, because we are apparently so desperate to talk about Destiny and be excited about Destiny where, if nothing else is happening, we will overlook as many glaring flaws as we have to in order to keep the conversation rolling, because we are just so scared of silence. How does a troll with this little effort blow up? Destiny is a surprisingly powerful addiction, I guess, is what I'm getting at. We want to be hopeful about the future of the franchise so badly, we'll let someone straight up lie to our face if we have to. But seriously, this was such a high value for effort troll. This is destined to be an example in the internet trolls textbooks for years to come about striking when the time is right. I wish I could congratulate whoever wrote it, because for the time they put into this, I'm sure they're getting a huge kick out of how much news and controversy is kicked up. Like, talk about a return on investment. Tons of people reading it thinking, I don't know if I believe this, but maybe. And then they make a poster for the fake expansion and post it to Reddit for thousands of upvotes as everyone's imaginations kick into overdrive for the exciting thing that's on the way and also isn't real. Like, every time Bungie posts an update, there's a ton of whining because Bungie isn't doing enough, and so as soon as anyone, as shown by the fact that it's literally an anonymous person, shows up promising a brighter future, it's like, yeah, let's talk about what that guy said. I would much rather put my hopes in something like that than the Guardian Games Bounty Simulator. Destiny's a good game for sure, but I have never seen anywhere near as much fantasizing about the future in anything ever, actually. It's interesting and weird. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, bell, click, notifications, so on and so forth. See you next time.